see. Okay. I am starting with a photograph today. So I am going to get in here and I'm looking at a photo from my Pinterest board, which I've put into black and white, and I'm just sketching it very lightly on my, piece of watercolor paper. I'm using the Fabriano watercolor paper that I love, and I'm just going to be painting on paper today. So I'm just getting some, a loose reference here. And we're going to do the flattening here that we did in the video I did this week. I'm going to be color mixing like I did from the 3 primaries, black and white. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on today. So I thought, though, because I like to talk about this kind of a lot, and when I'm doing the color mixing from the primary colors, every time you change like one color, it drastically can change your whole palette. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with that primary color palette, black and white, but I'm going to change one color. So it'll be like completely different. Rather than changing all 3, I'm only going to change out the red today. And so it will be a much brighter palette because the last time I used cadmium yellow light, I used Payne's gray for blue, and I used cadmium red deep. Hi everybody, who's here? Andrew and Giselle. Hello. I can see you in my chat coming up. If you guys have questions at any point, just throw them into the chat and I'll be happy to answer what I can for you. I check back. So today I'm going to be switching out the cadmium red deep. The color palette we used in the video the other day was a really muted one. So you'll be able to see almost right away when I start painting this, that color palette's going to be it's going to be different. It's going to be brighter because I'm going to use primary magenta. So it's a cooler, brighter red than we used the other day. And so I'm going to be mixing all my colors from those 3 primaries. And I always put out titanium white because titanium white is the most opaque. So it makes really beautiful tints. So that's the first thing I'm putting down here, if you're wondering. Hopefully you can see everything today. I'll put these aside. Now the Payne's gray looks black coming out. It's very blue, okay? So I'm using it as my blue. When we start mixing it with the white, you'll see why we treat it like a blue. It is so blue. It's not like the neutral grays, because I also use neutral gray in my color palette sometimes. Those are truly neutral colors. This is the cadmium yellow light I'm putting out, and then I'm going to put out the primary magenta. Primary magenta is a very bright, cool red. All the cadmium reds that we use are very warm reds, and this one is a very cool red. Let me see. Oh, I don't think this is the one that wants to come out of the tube. I have another one handy. Don't even worry. I never get worried because I always have a backup. Here it comes. There it is. I knew I saw another one sitting right next to me, so I wasn't even panicked. All right, now this is the ivory black. Ivory black, I want to say, is a warmer black. It's a little bit, sometimes I use carbon carbon black, and not today. Now I always use just a little bit. I'm trying to use up the rest of this matte medium, so hopefully I can get some of it out. Otherwise, I'll just open a new one. This is matte medium. I always use it, I put it right in the middle, and I use it for flow and to mix my paint. All right, so first thing I'm going to do the same thing because it was kind of inspired by that original Matisse, but this time I'm putting Matisse aside. I'm going to use my painting that I did and the other thing as my reference. And I've put away my photo reference because I've already drawn my little sketch. And this is what I do. Once I've painted from a master or something, and I've created my own, now I'm only painting from mine. And that's part of how you can continue to build and develop style of your own, is like when you really, even if you're influenced or you're painting from masters or whatever, if you start like really working from your own work, your style will really start to continue to develop. If you can immediately start working from your own work and not any kind of a copy. And that's the other reason why I used a photograph rather than doing something directly from their piece of work. So I was taking some of the inspiration from that original, but I was really trying to make it my own immediately by using a photo reference. So one of the things I like about that style that the Fauves used was that they have kind of a really strong graphic line or a structure around the portrait. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to mix some of the matte medium right into this black paint so that it flows nicely. And then I'm going to just kind of redraw some of these lines from my sketch. And, you know, a lot of it will get painted over. I'm not sure if I like this one, so I'm going to ditch it and get something thinner. I don't want to lose my lines. I'm not worried because I know that I can paint. I'll be able to paint over some of, so if it gets messy, I'll paint over it. I'm not worried. So I just go in and, you know, make some nice lines just to go over my drawing here a little bit so I know what I'm doing. Then we're going to mix. Then we're going to mix some paint. And this was just a loose pencil sketch that I did. I mean, and I did change the photograph a little bit. This girl had on, I don't know what she was wearing. I think she just had on a tank top, but I gave her a shirt. And sometimes I change things up. I liked her expression, but I'm going to change things a little bit here, just a little. Oh, hi. I'm going to call you hi too. It's nice. Thank you. Thanks for liking my drawing. I'm glad you're here. All right, so now we're going to mix these flesh tones. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and it's not hard. I'm going to start with a large amount of yellow, and I might need this whole pile, all right? Because yellow is the weakest color, we're going to start with the yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a fair amount of orange. Okay, now, but I start with the yellow because yellow's the weaker color. And I already put too much red in, but it'll probably be okay. If I need more yellow, I'll just add it. It's a little bit too, I'm gonna get rid of some of that red and add more yellow. So yellow is weaker, so we always start with that one first. It's orange, but I want it a little brighter. Okay, there we go. I like this like a little bit of a brighter color first. That's my first job, and I'm gonna blend it. Now I have a palette knife here. If you don't have one, use an older brush or something, because by the time you're done blending, you're really gonna smush up your bristles. Sometimes if I'm really in a hurry, I'm like a maniac and I just use the brush because I don't feel like getting out of my chair, but I try to use an old brush if I'm using a brush. All right, so now I have a beautiful orange. Now, what we want to make is brown. So I'm going to take the smallest. This Payne's gray is very strong, so I'm going to take tiny amount. I mean, you probably can't even see it. I'm going to mix that in until I have a brown. Okay, that was a small amount, and you could see how it's affecting the color, but I'm going to get a really rich, because that now, blue and orange are complementary colors. So now I'm going to get, I intentionally mixed complementary colors, so now I'm getting a neutral. And because I had made such a rich orange, I'm getting a brown, okay? We could push that farther, make it darker, make it like more of a black color, but we're not doing that. We want to stop at brown. So now we have this lovely, beautiful brown color. And now we can make all the flesh tones that we want to make, okay? But I still need my yellow on the palette, so I'm going to just stick some pure yellow over here so we always have it ready to roll. But now I'm going to mix all my flesh tones from this. So I just put a big blob of white, and I'm going to mix like a medium kind of a flesh tone with this. So now I have like a really nice creamy beige that I'm mixing. Okay, I'm going to mix this up by adding the white. And you really want to mix because you don't want like the bottom to be, have blobs of brown. You really want to get in there and mix this up so it's all nicely mixed. And that's why the palette knife is really nice for that. Okay, then you want to mix a little bit more white in. I'm going to get a bigger blob of that. And then you want to mix another shade, like another lighter tint of that color for your lighter areas, okay? So now I'm going to have another value, a lighter value. So now I have 3 colors. I've got this dark value, the medium value, the lighter value of that flesh tone. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this blue, just a little, I don't need a lot, and I'm going to do another little space on this dark side and try to mix a darker, cooler value. If it comes out too blue, I can just take some of that yellow and some of this yellow with red, mix it back in, and I'm going to get that nice dark value that I'm looking for. And I can add some more of the brown until it really, I'm going to have 4 values. Okay, so now I have I have this dark cool value, I have this brown, I have a medium value, and I have the very light value already for my face. And I could even make one, actually I would like to make one more, even lighter value here for my very lightest places. Now, when you're doing this, you can already see that this works for every type of skin tone. So it doesn't really matter if you're making any kind of ethnicity. We already have all the values you'll need. And even very dark-skinned people, where the light is hitting their face, will need these very light values. They'll just need more of the darker values. And so you would just mix more of these if you were making a dark-skinned person, and less of these if you were making a light, you know, like you just mix different ratios of the same color, using the same colors, because everybody has a bit of rosiness in their cheeks and a bit of yellow in their cheeks, in their skin tones, and you just mix a different ratio when you're creating the skin tones. All right, so now I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna paint. This is how I do it anyway, and it's, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I always go in with my lightest values, and I hit the places where I know the light hits the most. So the lightest places get the lightest value first. And when we're doing flattening, and I'm going to add a little bit of matte medium, because a matte medium just helps it flow better. So if you're painting in acrylic and you've always used water to flow, you really should be using either gloss or matte medium when you're painting, because acrylic paint is actually degraded by water. So it's really intended to be used with a medium of some sort. So I go in and then I put in my next value. And when we're doing flattening, we don't have a lot of values that are really drastic, because we're flattening the plane, and we're trying not to have, we're simplifying things. So there might be subtle values, but there's not really harsh values. We're kind of flattening things out. We're making things simple. We're, you know, concentrating on line and color for emotion. And we can say a lot without everything being so drastic, or like trying to create more of a photograph or hyper realism. So in this case, I'm going through and I'm mapping out the face with these two light values. And I tend to do quite a bit of flattening in my own work, but I'm going to put in some subtle values here. So I always know like that center of our throat is a little bit lighter, so I'm going to put some of that in here. And right now I'm not even looking at my photo reference. I've put it aside, and I'm just kind of coming in and going on instinct rather than I'm, you know, really copying anything. I'm just painting in a flow state at this point. It can be really freeing to do this. Now, around our hairline, there's usually a little bit of a darker value, but again, I'm keeping my values really simple. I'm putting a little bit of a darker value on her eyelids, because I know that that will help define them a little bit. I want to add a little bit of rosiness to her cheeks. Now, when I do this, if it looks like too drastic or something, I can push that right back with a little bit of the lighter value. I can just go over it, but it'll still be there. It'll just soften it. Okay. You have a lot of options when your paint is still wet. Now I had made her nostril really, or her nose really gigantic there, so I wasn't afraid about any of that because I knew I could push it back with when I was putting my layers in. So I don't want anybody to get stressed out when they paint. You know, it's if you make a mistake in the early stages, you could fix so much of this. I'm really staying away from those really dark values at this point. I'm just kind of coming around. I even feel like some of that was too dark, so I'm going back in with the lighter value. Everything can be changed on an acrylic painting. I think of all of it as a layer. You could change any of it as you're going along. Now that's just like one thin layer there. And so, let's see. Let me just see one thing here. I am going to pull the photograph back up. She has quite a bit of, she has quite a bit of a dark, that I don't know what it is, if she's wearing makeup or something under here. I'm going to pull a little of that in and see if I like it. She has a little bit of a dark value under her eye. Could be makeup, I'm not sure. Then I'm going to soften it with a little bit of a lighter value and see what if I like the way it looks. Not sure. I haven't done anything with her eyes yet. When you go in and do the eyes, sometimes it really, it's surprising because they start to look back at you and then they're all of a sudden, well, we should maybe get in there and make her more awake. All right. I might change my brush when we wake her up a little bit. Let's wake her up and give her more of an eye. So I'm going to come in with this dark brown and I'm going to put more blue into it, I think. When we cool things off or when we put blue into some of our shadow places, or it pushes things back and it pushes things back in the picture plane. Cool colors recede and warm colors come forward. So you'll see what I mean when I start to get in and just put a little bit more life into her eyes. She'll immediately look like she's looking back at us just by doing a couple little things here. Let's see. And now I want to give her some really I want to give her some blue eyes, I think. So I'm just gonna do that here and here. And then go in. They really do start to kind of look back at us, and then you know you get more invested in them when they start to have a personality, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to start looking a little bit at doing some of these slightly darker values under her neck, because all those things really do matter. And even if we're doing like a flattened portrait, they can really help us define, or they give us more information about the person, and they make it feel more like they're, even though we're not doing like drastic values, they're giving us more information about a light source. So here I'm doing just around the neck a little bit more to define it. I want this coming down, and I'm using a little bit more of that blue here, just because, again, when our shadows are blue, they kind of push back just a little bit. And this is just defining the eyelid. Okay. Now I think that these lips are way too orangey for my taste, so I'm just gonna go back in a little bit. All right. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna put in some hair. Now I'm gonna use the hair color, or this brown, I think. Some of these darker browns that I created here, to create her hair. But I never use one color when I'm doing hair because I don't think it ever looks natural when we do just the one color. So I'm going to come in with that color, and I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add some of these lighter tones. I add darker values and lighter values when I'm doing the hair. But I do like this dark. This dark chocolate is very, very nice. When I do the hair, I always kind of do the shape of the hair rather than individual strands of hair. Hi, Shabby Road Studio. I see you there. Now, please feel free if you guys have any questions at all about what I'm doing. Please ask, because I'll try to answer any questions you might have about the color mixing or anything that I'm doing, honestly. You know, because I come on here and paint every week, and I just do my thing, and I'm, you know, kind of just yammering because, you know, I'm by myself in here. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about what I'm doing, because otherwise I'm just going to paint. Let's see. So I always have a lot of water. I always have a lot of paper towel. I'm constantly adjusting things because I'm just kind of working my way around this painting and just looking and seeing and coming back and going back in and just not happy with this eye. I keep coming back. If I have to, I'll just go over the whole thing. I'll just go back right over it. You know, I've done it before, so, you know. But a lot of times on these, I love the strong, kind of graphic lines. And kind of like the minimal values of these paintings, and that's kind of what I'm looking for here. I'm going to put the other one back that I did the other day because I really liked that one. Let's see. I need my little brush. Okay. All right. Whoop, that's too much. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about the background or what colors I'm going to use there yet. I haven't decided. Maybe. I decided I didn't like her eye at all, and I just painted over it. So I'm going to go back to it. And I'm going to mix a background. And I haven't decided really what color I think I'm going to use back there yet. But let's see. Let's see what we can do back here. I'm not sure. Trying to think. about, oh, well, maybe. So we have a really nice bright magenta. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe we could go for something bright, maybe. All right, so I'm mixing kind of a lighter color, like just because we had this beautiful magenta. So I'm gonna make more of a corally kind of a pink, not really a, yeah, I knocked it down a little bit with the yellow, but I'm gonna come back in with a lot of white and make a beautiful tint. And I think we're gonna do a beautiful pink background for this lady. I'm gonna like it. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just brush this into the background. So if I have like a problem area or an area giving me grief, I don't worry about it. I just kind of go to another area. Like right now I want to fix the eye, but it's too wet, so I've got to leave it. But it's acrylic paint, which is the thing that's so great about acrylic, is that it dries so fast that you just need to not stress out about things. You have to just kind of let it go. Let that area go for a minute and just do something else. And then go back to it, because then if you do something else that takes like even a couple of minutes, it'll be dry when you go back and you can do whatever you need to do. That's the thing about painting, is like, don't ever get stressed out, especially if you're doing acrylic, because you can fix it like in 5 minutes. It'll be dry and you can just go over it. I loved, I'm not going to give this one a name, but I really liked how, I loved how Matisse had done the line work and the writing in the back of the other one. So I'm thinking I might want to do some kind of either a pattern or some kind of mark making of some sort in the back of this, because I really liked how much that added to this. I thought to the paintings that we were using as inspiration the other day. So I'm thinking about doing something in the back of this one. Okay. Now, I didn't make enough, which is fine. So once you know like how you made something, it's not hard. You just add more. You just make a little bit more. So I've got my primary magenta, I've got my cadmium yellow light, and a little bit of white, and I'm mixing more of that color. And I have more of everything. So if I need to make more, I'll just make more, right? And then I'm gonna add the matte medium. For flow, it just helps it flow better. And I love to make tints, so that's why I only buy the white in this size, because I use a lot of it. And I love my titanium white because it makes a nice tint right away. If you try to use like zinc white or something, you'd be here all day and use a whole tube, because it just won't cover the way that titanium white is the most opaque white. So that's the one that you get if you're going to do tints, if you're going to create a lot of tints. And I like to make tints. I also buy it in for gouache. I have a whole bag of extra titanium white for gouache too, because they make so many tints when I'm painting. Now, if I see areas that I don't feel are covered well, I'm going to go back over. And this is just how I put down paint. Now, a lot of people like everything really super smooth and stuff. I like a lot of energy in my brushwork, so everybody does it different. You know, you have to do it the way you're going to be happy with the end result. Okay, so now I have to kind of look at this lady's eye and say, oh my goodness, what have you done? So sometimes when I really feel like things have gone awry, I'm just going to go back in with a, I'm going back in with a pencil because I just got to look at it better. Okay. It wasn't even a great pencil, but that's okay. This is a Stabilo pencil. Yeah, okay. All right, so now I'm going to get in here with my, I'm going to give her, all right. There we go. Okay. Now she's looking a lot better. All right. Okay. All right. So now we need to think about what color her shirt will be. And, let's see. I'm going to take some of that Payne's gray. Mix. I'm going to mix a green, I think, with some of that yellow. And then I'm going to see, and I'm just experimenting here. I'm just going to see what I can get as far as a color with that. Let me just see. All right, well, I don't know if I like that green. It's very yellow. We'll see if I add a little bit more of that blue. I want it more blue-green. I'm going to add more blue. Sometimes you really have to play with a limited palette because you're not really sure if you're going to get the colors you want. No. All right, let's see. Ooh. That made a nice color. Yeah, I'm not real happy with that. So let's see. I might go for, just a blue. Yep, I might just mix a nice blue. And then add a touch of the magenta and make a, there we go. Now, when you're doing the limited palette, all the colors are going to go together no matter what. Now, this is a kind of a very soft, a very soft, almost like a lavender, very soft lavender color. It's not really a true lavender, but it's very close. Okay. So that first layer is always a little bit thin, but then you can come back in and, you know, build upon it. Sometimes there's areas you want to recover, and it depends on how you put your brush strokes down too. If you put them down with energy, you'll get more, and intention, you're going to get more excitement. Depends on where you hold your brush as well, you know. I always try to hold mine pretty far back because I'm trying to get a looser look, but I mean, it depends. If you want to really evenly, if you want your brush marks to be really even and careful and methodical, you could go closer. I do want some of these lines to be really graphic because of the style that we're kind of playing with today. See, I wasn't freaked out about the eyes so much. I just had to let it go for a minute and then come back to it. So she needs some highlight. She needs a little bit more white. I got to get in there. So I'm going to go in with a smaller brush now. Just going to be a little careful because I kind of got crazy before. Sometimes I get crazy when I paint. It's all right. It's okay. I'm going to just add a little bit of a highlight in there. I'm going to just go like that. Don't be afraid to go back in. Nothing is permanent when you're painting either. Like, all right. Okay. Well, I like how these colors are coming out now. Now, let's see. I do. This is that. I got wild before, got all crazy, and I painted over some of the hair because I was just getting nuts. Sometimes I do that. I just, whatever. I come back in and I fix it. It's not so bad. Okay. So then, let's see what else. Let's see what else we want to do. I really, I keep thinking I want to do something fun in the background with this. In the background, I want to do something graphic. So I'm going to, I think, now I'm trying not to go, because part of me wants to go in there with a really, part of me wants to go in there with like some kind of crazy color, but instead I'm going to try to not do that. And I'm going to try to mix like a darker version of that background color. Oh my goodness. Maybe if all right. And then paint. I think what I want to do is something interesting, like in graphic, but like have it be related in color, I think. The other one that I did, I think was more, or I want to feel like it was more a vintage photograph, and I want this one to feel more like she's maybe more modern or contemporary person. And I want to give her some kind of a relatable background. And so I'm just kind of going into this background and trying to create an interesting pattern on the wall that can bring in some of those similar kind of graphic marks. So when I'm doing stuff like this, I mean, I'm also always thinking about, how I would incorporate some of this stuff into some of the paintings that I'm trying to develop. And then things kind of these ideas flow into my own painting practice, I guess. So like the first one was clearly, working directly from the Matisse, right? So now this one, I'm using the painting I generated from that study, and then I used a photograph which I pretty much put away right away, and I went back to it once. I can't see it now. All I have in front of me now is my other painting. And so now I'm kind of going off on my own. And so this is how we can use those influences, you know. And now I'm just taking some of these colors I mixed up and I'm going into the background. And I created actually a lighter color that I'm going around with now in the background and painting out some of these areas. So this is how you can start to develop, you know, how these things generate and morph and change every time you do a new one. So if you do a series like this, by the end of the series, you just know the material better. But not only that, but you've already started to move into a series of your own work. Because now you've left that original reference, that original thing that you started with, the influence or the, you know, let's take a master study and see what we can learn from it. You've taken that and you've moved on from it, and now you're creating things on your own because you've kind of given yourself permission to take it in a direction that you want to explore. Now, I think, oh my goodness, look at her little nose. It got all pinched up and she needs more of a nostril. Otherwise, she won't be able to breathe here. All right, let's fix that. Look at her poor nose. Well, you got to keep coming back and looking at it because all kinds of crazy stuff happens. The other thing is, like, when you're pushing yourself just a hair faster than you really feel like you want to paint, you'll make really good intuitive choices, but you also will make, you know, crazy mistakes or whatever. Who cares? Because really, this is a study. I mean, this isn't anything that I'm going to put in a show or anything. This is just like playing, right? It's like we're figuring stuff out and we're playing with the colors. I mean, I've never used this color palette before. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go along here. But I wanted to also show you, like, and here's the one that we made with the cadmium red. You could see how much brighter the colors are with just that. You could see in the lips, I think, especially, but also in the face. You can see how much brighter, I think, when we put them side by side, like how much brighter this color palette is. The darks are so much darker, and the flesh tones are just, they look like they have more light behind them because we changed just one color. We just changed the red. Now, cadmium red dark is a very deep, dark, warm red, and this one is a very cool, bright red. So that's the difference with just one color. I mean, so every time you change just one color in your primary palette, you're going to change like how it responds in your color mixing. Hi, everybody. I'm looking over here and I'm waiting for questions, but I don't see any. But if you have any, please pop them in, because I'd be happy to answer anything that you might have. I keep coming back in and if I see stuff that looks crazy, I just come back and fix it. Okay. And every time I move to another area, I think to myself, oh, that looks weird. And then you look back because you get fresh eyes. That's the other thing that happens here. It's like, yep. I just need to look away for a minute and then look back, and I'm like, oh, yep. Now. I thought my ear was too big, so I adjusted it a little bit. All right. So matte medium can be used for lots of different things. So today I'm using it for flow, for mixing. You can create glazes with it, and a lot of people that paint with acrylics don't really know a lot about it. So I always like to talk about it just a little bit, but it's really useful for creating glazes, which are just like thin down paint that you can layer over in a thin wash if you want to just add a little bit of paint to one, or a little wash of color to like just one area. Right now I'm thinning out just slightly more intense areas of color to create this little area. I just wanted to put some texture on this, because I kind of really do like details and patterns and things like that. So now I'm just kind of having fun and playing with this this idea, and that I had about, you know, maybe bringing in some pattern into her clothes or a texture into her clothing. And, you know, this is all stuff that, you know, could make your paintings more personal to you, or just more fun and interesting if this is the kind of thing you like to do. I mean, I love mark making of and adding texture and pattern to my work, and so I love to do stuff like this. Now the matte medium is exactly the same, and actually the gloss is the same. They're exactly the same as your regular acrylic paint, only they don't have pigment, so they're designed to work hand in hand with the paint. Her poor little eye has blue paint all over it. Good God. I'm very messy today, folks. I can't help myself. I'm a little like out of control today. It's really cold where I live today. It's outrageously cold. It's been terrible for 2 days. I don't know about everybody else. I'm sure, like, I think a lot of the country is like this right now. So the United States is freezing cold. last week we had somebody who came from Jamaica, which was nice, and they said they were picking mangoes, and I was so jealous because I was like, I wish somebody could pick me a mango, and I was like, whoa, I wish I could go out and pick a mango because everything here is covered with snow. So sometimes when you're just like painting and things are like, you know, I wasn't real happy with this eye a little earlier, and just don't even stress out about it. Just kind of get in there, and it always comes around, you know what I mean? You just got to go back in, and you just have to sometimes wait for things to dry a little bit. I don't. Now I'm always trying to avoid the black because the black flattens stuff out. And so when I'm trying to put in a darker value to like indicate these eyelids or whatever, I'm going for the blue for two reasons. Because the blue, like I said earlier in this live stream, it does a couple things. It pushes things back in the picture plane. So when we're talking about these values, right, we're talking about things like pushing things backwards. We want to think about using a cool color, okay? So the cool colors obviously are blue and green, right? So when we're using something like Payne's gray, and we're using it almost pure, it comes across as a very dark, almost black color, but it has a cool cast to it. So when we use it like black, it pushes things back in the picture plane, and that's what we want. And it gives the illusion that that area is recessed. So even when we're trying to make it seem like a shadow is underneath, we can use it. Like if I'm putting it here under her chin, it looks like that's going underneath. And we can thin it out a little bit with the matte medium if we want it to flow nicer. And it's not as harsh. Where black will flatten things out. If you think anything is too harsh, you could always lighten those things up with just like a little glaze of something else. You know, you can glaze over that with some of the flesh tones, like I did just there. Just made a little glaze with the matte medium and some of the other flesh tones. Now I'm gonna go back in here because she had some adorable freckles that I wanted to. And I didn't want to forget the freckles because they were so cute. And I'm putting in tiny freckles. I wanted to add those. I'm going to put them in very lightly on her nose. So all I have to do is just change the value. All I have to do is put them in a different color there. Okay. I don't even know if you can see. I usually change the thumbnail when I repost the live stream, so you'll be able to see. This picture will be on it tomorrow. Okay. Now, what I don't like, and the more I paint, the more I see like, oh, I should have blended this better, or I should have blended that better. Because sometimes when you're painting, you just, you know, you need to keep adjusting things, right? There we are. Okay. So let's see what she looks like. Hi, everyone. Let me ask. So Shabby Roads, yes, I do sell these. Oh, Zori, were you the mango person? Oh my gosh, I was so jealous. I kept thinking about you and your mangoes last week. I was so jealous. They're my favorite. I laughed and laughed. Yes, I sell the paintings, and I've been meaning to do a bunch of these little works on paper because I sell them a lot less expensively than the big ones. Yeah, because these are just studies for me, and I have so many, and sometimes I put them in my big cartel, which I'll list them. I'll be putting some up within the next week or so. A lot of my friends like to buy these, so I do put them in my big cartel shop, but I will list them over the next week or so. I've been really swamped lately, but yeah, I'm going to be doing a bunch of them this month because I have a whole bunch of these. Are like 11 by 14 on really good watercolor paper, and I use really good paint. Like I use Golden and Winsor Newton and Liquitex, so it's really good quality. And I sell these. I don't charge a lot for because they're on paper and they're not on canvas. And my big canvas paintings are more expensive, but these guys are very affordable, and they go right in a frame, and they're easy to show and stuff. So yeah, so I'll be posting some of those really soon. And so what time is it now? Oh yeah, we're just about ready to wrap. So if you guys have questions, because I think I'm gonna leave this one right here. I love her freckles. I'm like really excited about them. So anyway, if you have questions about any of this stuff, you can ask me before I wrap up, or you can always, I do answer all my comments. So if you make a comment on any of the videos or any of the live streams or anything, you can always ask me, and I will always try to answer you if you have questions about anything, because I do watch the comment section and stuff on all my videos. But a mango inspired painting. Oh my god, yeah, I should do some still life, Sorry, that would be really fun. You know what's funny is I have a whole bag of I call it the 70s fruit. Because it was like in the 70s, like everybody's grandmother had like these baskets of fake fruit, but I don't have a mango. I need to find I need to buy fresh mangoes. But yeah, so sometimes I like to do the still lifes. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Maybe I'll do that soon. All right, so I'm gonna get ready to wrap. I have to do my thing where I turn my camera around like I do every week and say goodbye to everybody. All right, here it comes, because I look crazy today because of course I have the hat. I'm always cold. It's not cold up here. I have two heaters going, but my studio is not in the house. It's in it's in a outbuilding. So I have a converted loft, and it is heated, so it's probably like, I don't know, it's got to be 68 out here, but I'm always cold, so I'm all bundled up in my sweater and my scarf and my thing. But I'm so glad everybody came this week, and I'm so glad you stayed to paint. And I'll see you all this week. I'll be posting another video probably midweek like I do. Usually Thursday or Friday it comes out, usually Thursday. And I'll be back for live stream on Sunday. So take care, everyone, and I will see you very soon. Thanks for being here.